How's it, everybody? Welcome to the interview segment of today's show. And I've got a very special guest with us here today, Adam De Cata, who serves as the CEO of NFT Tech. And he's had an amazing career already, very involved in branding and content and entertainment, all the way from starting off at Warner Brothers, where he focused on global licensing agreements, including the Harry Potter franchise. And then, joining blockchain, decentralized metaverse like Decentraland, looking at how to create partnerships at Decentraland as the head of partnerships. He was also the founder of Run It Wild, an award-winning NFT studio. And we're going to talk about some of those awards that has now been acquired by NFT Tech. And he's just an all-round Web3 strategist and adopter and expert. And we're so lucky to have him on the show. So let me give a big round of applause for Adam De Cata. Thanks for joining us, Adam, on the Non-Fungibles.
It's, I always feel like those type of introductions make my my ego increases by the second that I hear you speak, Mick. But it's been a journey, definitely, and yeah, it's good to be here and talk a little bit about Web3.
It's actually, it's quite interesting, but it's amazing what you've done. When you hear it just in a few minutes, it's taking years of time, just wrapping it up in a short space of time. Do you want to tell us about how you started and how you got into this from Warner Brothers all the way to today?
My background is relatively diverse, but sort of stems from one moment in time where I was working at Warner Brothers in the consumer products division out of Australia. And I remember seeing this, there was a Superman movie that was released by DC Comics, and it was a movie that probably didn't meet expectations by most fans, but at the same time, the S Shield still, incorporated so many different ethoses. Like the core of it as a fan, the S Shield, sort of symbolized empowerment. And no matter if you had a poor film release, there was this multifaceted approach around the IP itself, where people could still fall in love with the comics, or they could still fall in love with other TV shows that sort of highlighted Superman, or how it meant to them in their lives. And my time at Warner Brothers, it was interesting. I started as an intern. I was still at college or university, and I paused my final year and went part-time so that I could continue to extend what was then a free internship. I ended up spending a few years at Warner Brothers before going out on my own, and I looked at management consulting around entertainment IP and how that would enter the digital realm. That was probably at the start of 2012, and I was working across music and entertainment IP, and it's just full on. So it took about 3 or 4 months for me to sort of ease into that break. Yeah, I was trying to find something that just wasn't what I was doing for the past decade. And I'd been far from a day trader in crypto, but fortunate enough that a lot of my friends were pretty tech heavy in their lives. And we were messing around with Bitcoin when it was like 30 to 40 US dollars. And, that's probably a story for another day, but I think at that point in time, I'd seen a few things with Ethereum and just was intrigued about a smart contract. Couldn't find a lot about it, and just used that time that I had to learn Solidity, the basics of it at least, to then start to have my own penny drop moments, which at the start were almost like hourly, then daily coming into 2020. And now it's still weekly. We're all evolving, we're all learning in real time. It's pretty awesome. The moment I sort of started to see how digital collectibles and IP would come together, it was like in August when I finally saw NBA Top Shots do something in 2020. And that was a really cool moment. I remember it. I was like, okay, this is something that is very digital. It's it only exists because of the blockchain. The level of scarcity is there, but there's got to be more to it. Decentraland came pretty much soon after that. I'd started speaking to them from October, November. It was just an interesting project that I could start to see how brands could interact in this digital realm, and in the most romantic form of it. It was the perfect onboarding tool for anyone to get into Web3. They could, if you were a fan of a particular musician and you wanted to go see that artists perform and you needed and required an NFT, that gated experience was just that perfect thing, or collecting that digital wearable. It's just from there, it's
Well,
sort of a domino
tell us about
effect.
some of the partnerships. What were some of the partnerships at Decentraland? What were some of the projects you involved in there?
Yeah, I think the first one was Sotheby's, and then
Oh, that
Coca-Cola
was
came
amazing,
shortly
man.
after that. Yeah, it was crazy to see.
So everyone here, Sotheby's did $24 million on Bored Ape Yacht Clubs and $2 million on the Bored Ape Kennel Club. Is that the one you did?
Even before that, so they launched their virtual experience. I remember, at the time with Michael and the team from Sotheby's, kudos to them, because they were willing to sort of take that leap of faith into what may be NFTs and crypto art, I think it was called back then. But yeah, they were talking about a few things, and we worked out ways that they could sort of enter the space. And the initial sort of brief that they were really wanting to lean in on was, here's this Bond Street gallery based in the UK. We're a 250-year-old auction house. Here's the floor plans. Like, make it as it was or as it is, right down to the scale. And we're like, okay, but you can push things in a virtual environment, that you're not bound by engineering reports. That was a really amazing moment, because I'd been speaking to them about how they could explore the escapism of Web3 and, IP like Bored Ape. And, like, they should really enter with no boundaries. And before you knew it, you had this really, floor plan, one-to-one scale building that they didn't want to move on, and then the apes took over and you walked in and there was a swamp, and so it was really cool to sort of see it. Yeah, so to see a brand like evolve and learn in real time over a couple of months about how they could push their brand, how they could connect to a current audience or crypto natives, was really, really cool to see. The same for even Coca-Cola. Like, it was crazy at the time. Like, I had a front row seat to any brand that was entering the space. And I don't take that for granted. It was really cool and interesting to see all walks of life from any IP come in and want to just understand what an NFT was, what it may mean for their business, and how Decentraland could fill that that opportunity for them. And it was really, really cool to be able to push the boundaries with something like that for Friendship Day, where people, to commemorate their first NFT sale that was on OpenSea, you sort of walked into this oversized Coke can that was like 4 floors high, and you entered through the bottom, made your way to the top by swimming through the can, and then on the top there was a rooftop like party, and people could collect their t-shirts, and it was a really cool moment to see how we could connect with an IP that made people feel the way that they do about that brand in a virtual environment, and started to expand people's minds to how you could actually push the boundaries of. It was a perfect case study to push boundaries of what it looks like in a virtual environment, or how your brand could be represented and how it can connect.
So cool, man. And I also like you carried on that theme with the Australian Open. You made it like a tennis ball.
Yeah, I think you can go really crazy with this sort of stuff. Like, one of my favorite, they call them wearables, or like digital garments, was a lot of people, in our physical realm, there's different statuses to different brands. And what connects with someone may not connect with someone else, but you've got luxury items that some people really connect with, and others that connect with something that's more indie or unique, one of a kind item. Here, like in the virtual environment, I remember seeing that there was like a cockroach. You could become a cockroach, which was the smallest character that you could. Was at the time approved. I don't think it will be approved again, because you can do lots of things that another avatar couldn't do. Like, imagine walking around with an oversized tennis ball that's wrapped around your body. It brings a smile to my face every time I think of that costume itself. But to the point of, that was a really cool blend. Like that project there, Run It Wild as a studio developed the NFTs, which is where the award-winning status came from. We won a bronze lion for Cannes Festival for that project itself, which was like connecting real-time data to the blockchain itself, which is really cool. So there was like 6,776 tiles on the court, and every match-winning point we could register the last legal bounce in the court. that then would update these particular NFTs in real time. So yeah, the next project, the next installment of that project launches in December. Really looking forward to how that's evolved and what that means to the end holder as well. But the virtual environment had like a Rod Laver Arena, which is the main tennis court there, and other sort of games that you could do treasure hunts with. And I think there's just some really cool elements. We had like live broadcast streams coming through, so it was this blend between the physical realm and the digital realm, and how it pushed it. And for the 14 days that it was there, everyone was winning and experiencing different things, winning different wearables, or experiencing virtual environment performances and other things. So it was a jam-packed 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty amazing to think about how much actually goes into building an experience like that. I mean, how long were you working on, say, the Australian Open project, as an example? How long did it take from initial meeting with the team to launching it live to the public?
Look, I'm not meant to quote, only because it will, it makes sense. So basically, that project there we signed off in October of that year, and it was released in January. So it took a team of 300 Spartans to make that happen, and no Christmas and no Year. So I wouldn't. I think when you're onto something, especially with the Artball series, like the team really connected. We knew what was out there, and we couldn't move the date of the Grand Slam start date. So that always helps push things along. But needless to say, there were a lot of hours that were put into that, and we put off a small miracle to make it all happen. And to see it win the award is probably the recognition that I'd love to see with the team. Because a lot of effort and time had gone into it all, and a new precedent, and how people could see digital collectibles, which were just cartoon characters. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but something that my mum could tap me on the shoulder and really understand why we're using blockchain technology. This time around, we've had a bit more time to build the second part of it, so grateful for that.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing it again as it launches for the next Grand Slam. And then let's move on to a bit of some of the stuff that you're doing now. I know you're doing some incredible work with Elvis, bringing Elvis back to life. If you want to share a bit about that project and some of the other cool projects that you're doing with NFT Tech, as sort of this new Web3 company that you're running.
So we work on we're still building out how best these sprints work, but we have a discovery sprint and then an ideology sprint, which basically allows us to work super well in terms of an integrated team about how blockchain, crypto, NFTs play a part in these businesses that approach us, and then from that we're also pulling in a whole heap of detail about their audience and how to inspire that audience to then be onboarded. In general, we're a group that wants to bring in the next 10,000, 100,000, million plus into the space with purposeful projects. So with Elvis, it was about finding out, what the challenge currently was, and what blockchain could do to help make these things better. And there's decades of fans with Elvis, and the one consistent theme we continue to hear was that they were all super passionate about the protection of the IP. But no one could truly make an executive decision on this, which then screamed out DAO to us. There's lots of different individuals that are wanting to do different things, crowdfunding for buying the private collections of memorabilia and bringing it back into the public domain, or finding intellectual property that they could then secure the rights to, the content that had never been seen before. And this project here brings it all together, and enables people to have a vote and use a treasury wallet for funds. There's some, we're pretty deep on our Web3 fundamentals, so maybe to the Elvis fan they won't really care, but to us we really think it's pretty cool that it's fully on chain. For us, over the last few years of developing and building smart contracts, we've recognized that there's a real beauty in the art of doing something fully on chain that doesn't leverage like a server, like an IPFS. And like this Elvis NFT is built fully on chain. So it's based on the 1968 comeback special. You might recognize it with the light bulbs, Mick. And at the time, that was like Elvis's first path into his own creative control. So it kind of symbolized something really important to us about then, okay, well, this should be his first NFT collection, which is sort of this founding group, these founding members of what we call the Legacy Council.
So that sounds really exciting. So you're building it on Ethereum. You're not using a layer 2 solution or something like that. It's going to be on ETH, the Elvis
on
NFTs.
ETH.
And then
on ETH.
Secondly, I've heard you talk about digital collectibles. Will the user know they're NFTs, or are you doing like a similar sort of communication like Reddit did now, where they didn't call them NFTs for the Reddit avatars, and they onboarded 3 million people, into their Reddit platform, into blockchain, purchasing these NFTs where they didn't actually realize they were purchasing NFTs. They just called them digital collectibles.
Believe it or not, there is mentions of it in the light paper, but the front facing is all around the purpose of it. So it doesn't need to include NFTs, and it doesn't, in terms of the forward facing part. That's why even the on-chain sort of stuff doesn't really, it features in a light paper, but to the naked eye, you're not going to know anything other than the fact that you need a digital wallet to be able to buy it. But we're doing a full white glove service where any Elvis fan can learn how to set up a wallet. There's an Elvis Academy, so it's all around security. We do this with all our projects. We've partnered with great companies like Collective Shift, and we're looking at others, and we're exploring how best we can do these things so that we can do justice to onboarding. One of the things that I noticed over the last few years is that NFTs is an amazing onboarding tool to just crypto in general. Like once someone has bought into a project that they see purpose with, they can start to explore what crypto is like, and it allows them to sort of engage in a way. And we want to enable them to have the tools there that some of us didn't have, and maybe have had to learn the hard way. But I do also feel that there's a true character building exercise going through a rug pull or a security infringement of some sort with your wallet. The way that a contract's optimized, how it's randomly associated to a token ID, they're all things that really should be taken in principle, and no one needs to know that, but you should follow them as a benchmark. We use Chainlink. We've used that for the last year and a bit on different projects that we work with, which randomly verify everything. So there's no human fingerprint. There's no way we could have associated a tile with a particular unique art ball. I think there's some beauty. There's definitely beauty in it, but I think in time they're the things that will really matter. As long as there's provenance, and as long as the smart contract on whatever blockchain exists, that's the point of the digital ownership. So, we're big into Ethereum. We're fans of layer 2. Like Polygon and Immutable has its own benefits if you're in a gaming.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I think the whole industry literally shifts every couple of months. With a different sort of strategy. It was only Web3 only, and now then it became, how do we onboard the Web2 users? Then it became Web 2.5. Now it's layer 2s are becoming the new narrative, and now we even talk about layer 3 as the next big thing that's coming. So what's exciting you in the next couple of months? Say from October till December, what are you excited about? Because after that, we don't know where it's going to go.
I usually get a question about like, what do you see it in 5 years? And I sort of throw up my hands and walk out, because who knows? But look, I think building in real time, it can be daunting. That could be in a virtual environment, or it could be in what you're doing today within an NFT strategy. I think at this point in time, we continue to want to be inspired by what we see. I think we're a bit far off in the next 3 months from VR, but from what I've seen and what I've tested, it's definitely a really cool bridge. It just the products themselves are just not as efficient cost-wise, and probably aesthetics to make it something that could be a macro product of sorts, like a smartphone. But I think we're developing a few really cool things around augmented reality and how token gated apps can sort of amplify an experience through a project of ours. I know that there's lots of I don't know. No, it's through the browser, so
okay.
Screw up. Yeah, no. Like I think there's we've somehow we ended up with a lot of sports projects. We've got luxury in there as well, and with Kelly Worsler, she's an amazing interior designer. I think what we're looking at is like in the next 3 months, I think it'll be evolving, developing projects that were originally 2D into more 3D experiences, and amplifying those experiences that we're already seeing Web 2. But token gating them and using the blockchain to be able to verify certain things like attributes that then can change your UI because of those things. Yeah, I expect more of that. I think Artifact just recently launched their latest NFT with, and they had an on cyber experience where you needed to walk through the virtual environment and mint through the virtual environment. So that escapism, yeah, we've been building something for like 12 months. You can walk through these environments, and every step that you take, every action that you do can create your own unique NFT in the end. And that's something we've been building out. It's
amazing.
a bit of,
wow.
Alpha for you, but that will probably be in March. That's a 12-month project that we've been building, but I think more of those sort of activities that are engaging to the user. Yeah, the technology will continue to evolve, but the experiences can be better, and I'd like to see more of those.
Awesome. Well, I think it's everything is adapting so quickly that we're going to probably be having a conversation next year, and it'll be totally different. But
I hope so.
Yeah. And I'm also quite bullish on ETH. So I'm quite excited to see what's that you're still minting on ETH. We've got a launch of the Munda tribe also coming up on the 28th of November, which will be our first mint of our first tribe in Africa Rare Ubuntuland. So that's going to be quite exciting. We're also doing it on ETH. I think I'm also quite a big ETH fan. And then, just to finish off, where can we find you? Where can people reach you? How do people connect?
Yeah, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. It's more of a Web 2 thing, but at least it helps me filter through who's talking to me. But you can also follow at Run It Wild. We don't post, we just on look, but I'll follow you back on that. And then at NFT Tech is the parent company. You can follow at NFT Tech and DM us on there as well. But yeah, like LinkedIn's probably one of the easiest for me to be able to connect back to. I know that you and I were able to talk on that and then go to Telegram afterwards, because it gives me a bit of anxiety going on Telegram. But I think at this point, LinkedIn's probably the best way to sort of contact me, and I can connect you with the rest of the team. But I'm glad to hear that you ended up doing it in Ethereum. There's been so many different discussions with different brands, with the obvious challenges around the eco side of it, even though we were talking about how that would play into the merge, and by being a foundation that's a non-for-profit, but we made that primary sale and the secondary be covered by carbon credits and the Elvis project. We ended up buying, we worked with Curist, and we ended up buying like 10,000 trees in a forest in Sweden that was named the Elvis Forest as part of the project.
Amazing.
Yeah, so there's lots of different things that we look at and explore in terms of risk management, but I don't think you need to do that now, considering where ETH is at.
So thanks so much, Adam. That was a lot of fun, man. Enjoy Dubai, and we'll catch up soon.
See you on the other side.